Welcome to Holding Space with Authentically Amy. This is a place where you don't have to perform, prove, or hold it all together. You're allowed to exhale, to feel, to speak, or just be. Here, your truth is safe, your emotions are honored, and your soul is gently invited to the surface. I'm not here to fix you because I don't believe you're broken. I believe your soul already knows the way. My role isn't to give you advice, but to hold a steady frequency of love so you have space to rise. This podcast is an extension of my own healing. If you're here, you belong, and I'm honored to sit beside you. Welcome to another episode of Holding Space with Authentically Amy. I'm your host, Amy Thurman, and I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in, tagging along, sharing, and for joining us for another episode. I'm so grateful. I'm honored to have my friend Susan with us today. Susan, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Amy. I'm so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. We have, we said beforehand, you and I can talk for hours. So we're just going to jump right into it and see where this leads us and allow it to take us down the road that we need to go down. So I just start with, I'm just here to hold space. So I am honored to hold space for you to talk about whatever feels heavy on your heart that you might want to talk about today. So I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you. To pick a subject,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, each day is different, but as you know, I left my W-2 job at the end of December to pursue my passion, which was helping people who faced judgment, who have faced being told that they'll never amount to anything. And I think what I'm realizing through all of that is how deep seated that pain is within me. Um, because I always thought it was because of something that I observed for some people who were very close to me about being judged and ostracized and kicked out of institutions because of their sexuality.
Mm.
And it used to just make me mad. But what I realized was it was the judgment period. It wasn't necessarily what the subject was about. And I could just never wrap my brain around how people could be so judgy.
Mhm.
Um, how is it that people can just inadvertently say that what they believe is right, what this other, someone else believes is wrong, and someone that's been so close to them for so many years, like family, all of a sudden say, I'm going to have to put distance between myself because of your beliefs. And that just kills me. It just it's like, what happened to our curiosity? What happened to the true love? And what I realized with talking to a friend today is it's because I faced that as a child. My father was one who was very, not a, let's just say he was not a nice guy. I think I was an accident. I don't think I fit into his life plan.
Mhm.
So I think there was a lot of resentment built up behind there. And at one time, I can remember being a little kid and he and my mom were fighting. And I snuck down the hall. I think I was probably 4. And I poked my head, around the corner. And he actually slapped my mom, which
Mhm.
caused me to react. And that was traumatic in itself. But
Yeah.
what he said next is what rewired my brain. And it was, he looked over at me and he goes, you know, I don't know why you still have her here. She's worthless. I want you to take her down to the orphanage tomorrow and
Wow.
just get rid of her. And
Wow.
I was just, at 4 years old, you can't really process that really well. All I
Yeah.
remember from the rest of that night was I went back to my room. I picked out my favorite shirt or jacket or something and my favorite doll, and I held them and I lay down on my bed. And I honestly don't remember what happened the next day or anything like that. But um, he would say things throughout the years. Obviously, that didn't happen. I should say that. But he would say things throughout the years of, um, you know, you're never going to make it. You're going to end up in the gutter, things like that. And I tried to be the perfect kid, I guess. I
Hmm.
never really got into trouble. I excelled at school. Um, I would come home with A's, and I can remember being in elementary school and him going, "You could have gotten an A plus."
Mm.
Nothing was ever good enough for him.
Yeah.
So now, 50 some years later, what I've realized is I learned to always doubt myself, figure that whatever it is that I wanted or who I was not worthy. So I just became who everybody else needed me to be.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think I think we all go through that. And now it's just a matter of discovering who my authentic self is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, I think most of us have experienced something like that. I too, as a child, never felt like I was ever good enough or ever doing things the way that they wanted them to be done. And I constantly felt like I had to earn love. Like I never,
Mm,
and I think most of us feel this way. Like we never feel like we just deserve love just because we exist, that
yeah,
we're taught and we always feel like we have to earn love. So we're constantly trying to accomplish things and do things and prove ourselves. And it's exhausting, but it
yeah,
also teaches us to not be who we really are because who we really are is not good enough. That's what we're
right,
taught. So
right.
we don't really know who we really are because we
Mm-mm.
can't be that person because that version of us is not good enough.
Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't we just automatically assume that. I always look for that when I am in a new situation. And then even in doing my podcast or doing this speaking, it's like, oh, I'm probably not really qualified to do that. Instead of, yes, I am.
Mhm.
And people will give me high praises, and yet I still doubt. So,
Yes, I spoke at the University of Oxford, and
it's
I felt that
amazing.
way too. Like, what am I doing here? I remember sitting there in a moment of like panic, sweat dripping down my back. Like, what am I doing here? What makes me think that I can get up there and give a talk that's worth hearing and I have information to share that's worth sharing?
Yeah,
There was a moment that I felt that way. Like, what am I doing? Who do I think I am?
yeah,
I did get
yeah.
over that, but I remember that feeling, and it was a panic, a feeling of
Hmm.
panic, like I just want to run out the door. I just want
Right.
to run away as fast as I can.
Yeah, yeah. And yet, we reason with ourselves like, no, 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 that's not true. And you take that breath and you find the courage. And what I'm trying to lean into right now is there's research, neuroscience that talks about rewiring the brain. And so I'm trying to lean into that a little bit more, and also about being aligned with your thoughts and your feelings and your expectations and your emotions. And it's more, I'm at the stage right now where I'm really just learning that it's all connected.
Mhm.
So that's really cool to me because there's a part of me that's like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is neuroscience, and we can redo this, right? We can write our new chapter.
We absolutely can. One of the things I'm passionate about is talking about emotions and how important they are to us, that we're taught that they're bad, that we don't feel them, we don't talk about them, and we definitely don't act out on them. But what we
True.
forget and that we're not taught is that emotions are part of our communication system. They're there to send us a message, and we're not receiving the message because we're pushing them away or stuffing them down and never to surface again. And we're missing an entire piece of our communication systems when we do that. And as when we have experiences like you mentioned as children, those emotions keep surfacing and keep surfacing and keep surfacing because they're trying to send us a message. But until we allow
Yeah.
them to surface, we can't complete the loop. That loop stays open, and it's not going to complete until we allow the emotions to serve their purpose and receive the message that they're trying to send us. Then that loop can close and we can move forward. It sounds simple, but nobody ever talks about it like that.
No, no, they don't. And, all I've heard for years is you just have to have more confidence.
Yeah.
Well, I can fake confidence really, really well.
Yeah.
Um, I've done a lot of speaking, and there's been several instances where I've been thrown in front of groups of 500 to 1,000 people because maybe a speaker was late or a speaker didn't show up, and they knew that I could wing it and come across as well prepared.
Yeah.
Um, and it was always it's like, oh, you know, I never thought of myself as a good speaker or knowledgeable to be able to do that. I just figured I fake it really well. I
Mm,
never gave myself credit. And I think that's part
yeah.
of this is that we don't give ourselves the credit that we deserve.
Yeah. Man, that's hitting me, Susan. You're hitting me in the soul today. Like my daughter, she's 29.
Mm.
I was featured in our local newspaper on the very front page on New Year's Day. They did a story
Ah,
on me. I know. I was just so honored.
yeah.
And I thought that's really cool. So I got a couple copies and I had them laying around here. And my daughter came over the other day and she was like, "Mom, you're such a big deal." And I was like, "What?" And she said,
Yeah.
"You are. You're a really big deal. Why don't you see that? How come you can't see what a big deal you are and what a gift that you have?" And
Yeah.
all these things. And I was just like, "But I'm just me." Like
Yeah.
I don't, it's hard for us to see ourselves that way, I think. One, because I don't want to come across as conceited or like a know-it-all. I want to be approachable.
Well, and I think that's how we temper the thinking ourselves worthy or anything is we automatically assume that people will think we're conceited, or we will automatically um, come across as the know-it-all or whatever. And that's not true. It's like, you know
Yeah.
what, Amy, you are a big deal and you have incredible knowledge and incredible depth to that knowledge that is just, it's going to take off and you are just going to be able to help so many people. And that's what I keep leaning into. It's like, I'm not doing this to have a million people know me. I'm
Yeah.
doing this to help who needs to be helped and who needs to
Yes.
hear it.
And
Yeah.
and that's what the difference is, the heart behind it, the
Yeah.
motive, the intention of why we're doing what we're doing, and why we're the reason that we're putting ourselves out there isn't to
Mm-hmm.
become a celebrity.
Yeah.
It's to help people. It's to reach people's hearts
Yeah.
and to use what we've been through to help other people learn from our experiences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's,
And, it helps so much to have someone like you, a friend like you, or I have a couple of other friends who just kind of get behind me and just give me little nudges all along
Yeah.
the way. My one friend who was really drilling down on me today, who had me in tears. So those emotions came up. And I thought,
Yeah.
why am I crying over this? But I think you're right. It's trying to teach me something, but she is so good at that. And then she'll stop and she'll say, okay, I need you to go sit with this for a while. I
Mhm.
need you to think about what we've talked about, what I made you write down. And I said, well, I want to talk about the next step. She goes, no, that's how you're not dealing with this.
Yeah.
So, oh,
Yeah. That's, that is so powerful. There are so many things I'm trying to figure out which rabbit trail I want to go down right here, because there's so many I could go down right here. But I
yeah.
think it's so true that we're taught and trained to be chasing the next thing, that we
Mm,
don't really ever sit with what we have or what we've accomplished or who we are now. We're constantly trying to become a better version of ourselves or accomplish something more or reach a new goal. Or as soon as we reach a goal, we don't stop to celebrate it. We
yeah.
start reaching the next goal. And I think that I call it in my book a sacred pause, that we
Mm,
have to take that sacred pause and allow it all to settle and really take it in and feel it deeply and know that that's a part of us. Celebrate who we are and what we've done and what we've accomplished. And instead of constantly striving and striving, that we take that sacred pause and we do it intentionally. And it can be very powerful.
I love that. I'm going to have to, I know I've read your book, but now I got to go back and read that chapter again. I just wrote it down so I wouldn't
Oh,
forget. Um, wow, that is so true, though. And I think, too, when we do take that pause, I think having gratitude for it is also something that's really important to me because I've realized that if I don't acknowledge it and be thankful for it, then why am I doing it? Right.
yeah.
And to think about what did it mean to me? What impact did it make on me? Or and I should say not or, but and
Yeah.
what impact did it make out in the world? Um, I used to love the analogy, the ripple effect, long
Hmm.
before people really started using that term so much. But I really think that some of those things that we do or say, or like you writing this book, the ripple effect of that lasts for so long and just keeps going. It's like that ocean or that lake is endless because something that, maybe you thought kind of had, I don't want to say died out, but had lessened its intensity. Maybe there's a new breeze that starts a new ripple of it. And yeah, yeah, I think that it's super important to remember that.
Yes. And, along the same lines we were talking, it made me think about being grateful for the things that don't go the way we
Mm,
intended or planned. Those are the hardest for me. Like this week,
yeah.
it's been really, really hard. I have faced a lot of rejection this week,
Mm.
and
I
it's so
I want to
hard.
hear about it. You're the third person today who has told me that. And these are
Really?
people who are amazing. One of them, he he has a certification program for chiropractors and has been in the industry for years and is well renowned. And he got three major rejections for things that should have been a no-brainer today. Or, he got them this week. And it's like, what is up with that?
I know that there's at the time of this recording, lots of the planets are aligning. There's something astrologically massive going on. But
Hmm.
this, I face rejection pretty much all the time. Nothing ever goes yes all the time. But this week, it has been one after the other, and it has been intense. Like I have felt it on a deep, deep level that made me almost say, like, forget it. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm done. Just,
Yeah.
it was like it pushed me to just my core. It just really hit me at my core. And I'm honestly struggling, to be grateful for that. I know in my brain that a rejection is just redirection. It means something better is coming. But the
Yes.
way it's feeling so raw in this moment right now, it's tough for me to feel grateful for it. But I know that
Oh.
I should and I'm supposed to and I will. But in this moment, I'm not really feeling that right now.
Well, I wonder if it's a lesson for you, though, too, that goes back to all of those internal thoughts of not feeling worthy enough or not feeling good enough. And it's like, when we pray for patience, God just doesn't go, okay, poof, there, you've got lots of
Right.
patience. He gives you trials to
Wow.
practice your patience. And maybe these are just trials for you to finally come to terms like, you know what? I am worthy, and that was not the right opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I heard someone say recently, and I really like this. She said, I don't believe in the universe testing you. I believe in the universe giving you opportunities to see if you're ready. And if you're not
Oh,
ready, then you take a step back and you learn a little bit more. And then the universe brings you another opportunity to see if you're ready. And I thought, that's beautiful. I
that's
love that.
beautiful. Love
Right?
that.
Yes. So
Yes.
I'm adopting that the universe is giving me opportunities to see if I'm ready to step into the next level up or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it doesn't
Wow.
mean it's fun. That's one of the
No.
things I have been thinking about. I really have wondered if I should write a book about this because I think about it often.
That answer would be yes. I don't
Is
you don't even have to say what it's about. The answer is yes if you've been thinking about it. Hmm. Okay, but go
yes,
on.
but it's about the dark side of success.
Yes.
That
Oh,
success, people always chase success. They want success. And I have had massive success, but it is not always pretty and it doesn't always lead to where you want it to go. And it led me into to spend a week in a mental health hospital. There is a dark side of success that people really aren't talking about. And I
we
feel
need to
like
talk
people
about
need to
that.
know it's there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you just voiced your next project because I think you're absolutely right. I think
Yeah.
anyone who's put themselves out there to try new things and even business leaders do this. They take risks, and if those risks keep failing, they tend to back off from it. Or when one finally does hit, it's like, whew, okay, instead of being like, yeah, I got one. Yeah, that was a great idea. It's more like a relief. And
Yeah.
but you're right, all of those no's hurt physically, mentally, emotionally. So yeah. And I think your
Yeah.
story about how you did end up in the mental hospital, I think that's so powerful because I think there's so many of us that probably could be a very beneficial time for many of us. Um, and maybe we all need to stop the stigma around that as well, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. I don't know how much of that story but I have shared on my socials. But yeah, I did share that story of my mental health journey very openly and widely and broadly, and had much support and people surrounding me telling me, that my sharing that was really helping them. That was when I started my hashtag authentically Amy
Yeah.
series, sharing that. But I had a lot of responses from men
Hmm.
privately. They would send me messages privately. They wouldn't comment publicly because
No,
they were
because they
telling
didn't want
me,
to seem weak.
yes, that's exactly what they said. But this,
Mhm.
I really am like, I'm holding this out here. Like, I don't know what to do with this. But what I did was I hit a vein. I hit something with men that apparently no one else is feeding them or helping them with, because what they're telling me is that they really want to be authentic. They really want me to help them learn to be authentic, but that the world and society and the business world, especially,
Yeah.
doesn't really allow for that and doesn't accommodate that. And they don't know how to be who they are as a man and also become an authentic version of themselves. And I'm just like, yeah, that's a conundrum. That's a something that I've hit on that I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. It's so interesting.
Well, I think you need to explore that. I mean, I think that is um, a huge opportunity. You know, when I started my podcast, Done Pretending, it was a lot about that. And surprisingly, I've had some responses from men too, because I think that they're so ingrained with looking a certain way, showing the confidence and the success, and because nobody's going to buy them or trust them with whatever business they're in unless they exude that. But what
Yeah.
happens behind closed doors? You know, do they have an outlet for it? Because then they need to go home and be, many of them think they are the leader, head of the family. And sometimes they can't be. So, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, just there's so many different avenues. I feel like you and I both, with our experience and what we have learned and what we have gone through and our
Yeah.
traumas, what we have lived through, our lived experience, can help so many people in so many different ways. And I really feel like it's a gift that you
Mm,
and I have been given to be able to help the world, to spread this message, our messages out to the world. And it didn't feel like a gift for a long time. Sometimes it still
I
doesn't feel like a
agree.
gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just felt like I was the ostracized one in the family because that's what I
Yeah.
believed. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I feel
Mm,
like there are other people out there like us. I know that there are other people out there like us, either people who are doing what we're doing or people who are wanting to do or have a message or have been through, have lived experience that they know they're supposed to share.
yeah.
So I would love, if you wouldn't mind, for you to talk just a little bit about your experience, because you did that. Like, you had lived experience and you knew you needed to share it, and you had to take the steps to get there to do what you're doing now. So if you would share a little
Yeah.
bit about that, I think it would be helpful.
Well, I always knew that I was meant for something more. I didn't always know that. I've known that for a good 5 years. And about 2.5 years ago, a friend took me to a conference and it was talking about developing your personal story to be used on speaking. No, actually, it was before that. I went to a rental conference because I have rentals, I have short term and midterm rentals. And they had a lot of breakout sessions, but one of the keynote speakers was, I can't think of her name, Angie something, but she was talking about why do you do what you do? And it was being your true self. And it just really like touched a nerve with me after all of this systems knowledge that I was just absorbing like crazy. I went to her breakout session instead of going to lunch. And she, I don't even remember what it was all on. Here's what I remember: I remember sitting there and looking around the room and looking back and noticed that she had kind of a crew. One, she was getting taped, but she had someone who was like her right hand person, which turned out to be her production assistant just for this event. And I thought, that's me. I need to be her. And not
Yeah.
like saying the same message. I just knew
Yeah.
I was supposed to do that. What I
Mm.
was going to speak about, at first, I thought it was going to be administrative stuff because I had been in that industry for 20 years, and how they are often not appreciated for what they do, even though they're the foundation of every business.
Yeah.
So I went back to the production assistant and said, how do you become her? What did you do to get her? And she looked at me, and it ended up, long story short, we went to dinner that night, to a group dinner, and she and I talked for an hour, and she goes, Susan, she goes, I don't know you from Adam, but I know you're going to do this because I can envision you doing this. So after that, I got dragged by my friend to, probably about 6 months after that, to a speaking event, learning how to tell your personal story. Now, the
Mm.
story that I told you about my dad, that's one of two of my main stories about being a kid. And as the exercises that they took us through, it came up. And I was just journaling like crazy. And then you have to go up and you have to give one true sentence. And I did that. And then I ended up joining this group and participating in it for over a year. I'm actually still in it. And I gave a speech, and the coach, the speaking coach, and the head were sitting in front of me to critique me. It was a small mastermind group. And she goes, Susan, how do you feel about what you just talked about? And I said, are you kidding? The last 6 months have been therapy for me. I didn't even know this was still buried in me. And it wasn't
Mm.
until I started writing about it and speaking about it that it's like, oh my God, I haven't thought about that in, 40, 45 years. And she just kind of smiled and she's like, yeah, yeah. So that's how I knew. I knew I was meant to give a message. I knew it revolved around how my dad treated me and made me feel unworthy, including me and my mom. And how if you look at my life, I look successful to a lot of people, but I never felt that way. And I
Mm.
knew that was tied to it as well. So I took a huge leap of faith last year. Like I said, I had been at my job in a corporate CPA office for 19 years. I gave them 4 months' notice, and December 21st, I think, was my last day working for them. Now, do I have income lined up? I didn't at the time. Do I have all my health care and, all of that all figured out? Nope.
Yeah.
Didn't do that either. And then the other part of it was I asked early last year for my marriage to be done, um,
Mm.
because one of the catalysts that got me to do that was I knew it was wrong for a long time, but I wasn't being true to myself in thinking that maybe it'll change. It's really not that bad. It doesn't affect me, all those things that you think.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that he said was about the speaking was, I don't know why you're pursuing this. Your group is costing quite a bit of money. And I said, well, it's a learning curve. You have to learn a lot of things. You just can't go step on a stage. Some people do. I couldn't.
Yeah.
And he said, well, why are you pursuing it? No one's ever going to listen to you and you're not going to be good at it. And I
Mm.
just sat there literally with my mouth hanging open. And
Yeah.
this time, though, I recognized it. It's like that was my father's voice coming right at me again. And I knew at
Wow.
that instant, it's like, I am done, done.
Yeah.
And I purposely waited to get through the holidays for a couple of different reasons. But
Yeah.
so that's a huge change. So, I ended my marriage. I left my job. I started my podcast, which is called Done Pretending. And we talk about being your true self and why it is that we pretend to be something that we're not, or why do we shrink ourselves to fit in. And when somebody asks, are you okay? I'm fine,
Mm-hmm.
when you're
Yeah.
really not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been just amazing for me to do that and hear people's stories. I love interviewing. You're going to be one of my guests coming up. Um, but yeah, that is how I stepped out and am rewriting my story. My friend, she said it. She said, "What is it?" She goes, "Think of your life as a do-over." She goes, and not that you're replacing your former life, but I've entered a chapter because I love the word chapter. I've
Yeah.
entered a chapter. It's a do over to become the person that I've always really wanted to be and figuring out what drives me, what makes me happy, what gives me the energy and the spark to do that. And that's hard. That's
Yes.
that's hard to find
It's
that.
it really is. I teach a lot of self-discovery because I do authenticity work. And one of the things that happens typically when after my clients go through the process, they come out on the other end like myself and like you. My marriage ended. I had to fire some of my friends. I had to
Yes. Yeah.
change a lot of things. I didn't have to change a lot of things, but I did because I realized they weren't authentic to me. Like
Mm-hmm.
they weren't reflecting who I am at my core. They were reflecting who I was taught to be. And
Mm-hmm.
it is very difficult. It takes great courage to step out and to own, embrace, and live in that from that authentic version of yourself, because it means you're no longer living the way and who you're expected to be. You're
Yeah.
living who you actually are. And while it's difficult at first, it becomes a beautiful, beautiful process that you get to know more about who you really are and fall in love with yourself again and know what you like and enjoy. And it really is beautiful. And not at first, but it becomes a really beautiful process. And I'm just so, so proud of you and grateful that you have taken the step and the courage to do all that you have done and are along this path. I just, like I said before we started the recording, I love watching you evolve and grow and bloom into this version of you that you are. And it's just so wonderful to be able to see it underneath, and from a distance. I'm just really, really happy for you.
Thank you, Amy. I am so grateful for you and for asking to sit at your table and have lunch with you that day. Had no
That's right.
idea who you were. Just
Yeah.
I always enjoy meeting new people. So I'm like for everyone watching, I had asked her, "Hey, do you mind if I sit here?" And we've been fast friends ever since.
Oh yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. Amazing. It's meant to be one of those
Mm-hmm.
divine appointments, synchronicities.
100%.
So
Mm-hmm.
good. Oh, well, we could, like I said, talk for hours. I love this conversation. I do want you to share, though, a little bit more about what you're doing, how you help people, how people can reach you and know more about you and connect with you.
Absolutely. So, the podcast comes out weekly on Tuesdays. It's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. It's called Done Pretending. And sometimes I have guests, sometimes I just speak wisdom or share experiences. And then the best way to reach me is through email, Susan at susan-houston.com, or my LinkedIn is basically the same, Susan Houston. And my website is www.thesusanhouston.com. Can you believe that Susan Houston is taken? So
It's
then it
funny.
became, okay, what's not taken? The real Susan Houston, or, you know, so we
Yeah.
played around with that for about 2 days, and the Susan Houston is sounded the easiest.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind of
So
goes
good.
back to being the real me too. I
Yeah.
am the Susan Houston. And
Yeah.
it's been so the way that I help people is I do offer some group things. I have a weekly wisdom that when this airs will be in full force. So if you go to my website, you can sign up for my newsletter and my weekly wisdom. I promise I don't spam you at all. It's tidbits that I've learned either in my own life or from people like you, Amy. And I share them because I think so much of this is universal that it's just, and so many people, like we were talking earlier, go through this and
Mhm.
don't realize that they're not the only ones going through it.
Yes, absolutely. And the world is craving this. Like the world
Yes.
needs this and it's craving it and desires it. It's so we need to be putting this out there so that people can find this because they really are craving it in a really authentic way. So I love what you're doing. I love the mission. I love cheering you on and sharing your
Oh,
message with the world. So thank you again for being here. Is there anything you want to share before we wrap up here?
just how grateful I am for you. That's it.
Oh, goodness. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Well, I love connecting with you as always. I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you to those of you who are watching and listening. Please share so that we can get Susan's message and her work and her podcast out to the world and share this message of authenticity with more people so that they can find the help that they need with us as well. If you want to know more about discovering more about yourself, I offer self discovery courses, workbooks, at my website, www.getamyshelp.com. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, just email me, amy@getamyshelp.com. And until next time, I will be here holding space for you. Thank you for being here. And to my guest, thank you for your honesty, your courage, and your truth. It's an honor to hold space for people like you. If something in this episode stirred something in you, if you breathed deeper, softened, or felt a pull inward, consider this your invitation. Whether you're ready to share publicly or prefer to remain anonymous, I'd love to hold space for you too. This work isn't just for podcasts, it's for people everywhere. And I'm bringing it into businesses, schools, communities, organizations, anywhere humans need a place to be and for someone to hold space for them. To learn more or to schedule your own session or to be a guest on this podcast, visit www.getamyshelp.com or just reach out to me. I'll meet you with open arms and a quiet, sacred seat. Until next time, thank you for being beautifully, unapologetically human.